Hi, I'm Lance Henriksen. You're watching Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. Don't turn it off.
Mind Ripper, a horror film from the mid-90s. There's a good sign. Yeah, 1 year prior to the release of Scream, Wes Craven's son, Jonathan Craven, wrote this film, Mind Ripper. It stars Lance Henriksen, Claire Stansfield, Giovanni Ribisi, and a few other kind of lesser-known actors. But yeah, it's directed by Joe Gayton. Exactly, and it's not good. So yeah, it's kind of symptomatic of what 90s horror had become before the release of Scream, which was like kind of straight to video schlock, that usually was raised slightly by some of the acting talent that they might be able to persuade to come into it, but beyond that, yeah, it's not great. The thing is, this film actually doesn't have such a bad script. I would say that Jonathan Craven doesn't disgrace himself in the writing department here. I think the primary fault with this film lands in the hands of director Gayton and some of the acting talent as well. Although I think, again, in the hands of the right director, better performances might have been brought out of those actors, so I try not to be too hard on them. But yeah, this just feels really sloppily directed and really low budget schlock. Some of that schlock works, some of the like not so nice stuff, that the gore, so to speak, is handled pretty well at times. But I do think there was scope here to make an iconic kind of slasher central figure. You know, not to the level of like your Freddy Kruegers and your Michael Myers or anything like that, but the idea itself is pretty solid. It's just that the execution of it is just all over the place. So we've got this kind of Day of the Dead kind of take, where, you know, you've got a bunch of scientists in a bunker, up to no good, playing God, and of course that all goes wrong. And, you know, sticking it to a location like that means you can really bring down the budget. You just build your sets and then that's it, you shoot everything in there. There's a few exterior kind of locations towards the end of the film, but nothing that's going to break the bank. So obviously very cheaply made, and I would hazard a guess that the majority of the budget probably went into getting Lance Henriksen. Lance Henriksen here, he's coasting, I think, but he's still really easy to watch. I like Lance Henriksen. I met Lance Henriksen, so that probably helps in my liking of him, because he was a really nice guy. But I've always really liked him as an actor, just particularly like stuff he's done with James Cameron and whatnot. But and the TV show Millennium, I was a really big fan of. So yeah, when I see him in something like this, it kind of pains me, because I don't think it's worthy of his talents. I think he's better than a lot of the films he's in, this obviously being one of them. Someone else who's actually pretty good in this as well is Giovanni Ribisi. Now, this is around the time period that he was just getting kind of cast as stoner teenager types. You know, I first saw him in an episode of The X-Files where he was just that with Jack Black. And then he did like Friends, where he was a bit, kind of, not so much a, well, yeah, he was a bit of a stoner in that, I think. Either way, he's kind of typecast, but there's still a quality about him that separates him from the rest of the cast, except for, as I say, Lance Henriksen. Like the two of them together, when they're on screen and they're doing their father-son shtick, is the best parts of the film. Like at the heart of this film, you know, you've got all the mad scientist stuff going on, where they create this, they essentially reanimate this dead body, and it becomes this mind ripper, someone who feeds on people's minds, like literally rips them out, hence the title. So yeah, but in amongst all that, you've got this father-son dynamic where you've got like this estrangement. You've got the father, played by Lance Henriksen, who used to work on this project but left due to moral concerns. And then you've got the son who, as I say, a bit of a stoner. Well, looks like a bit of a stoner. Not that we ever see him take any drugs, but he's always got his headphones on, a bit emo, and they're somewhat estranged. And the father wants to get closer to his son, and the son's not really having any of it. And of course, across the course of the movie, as they get into dire straits, they realise that, or certainly the son realises that he needs to treat his dad better and accept him for who he is, and all that blah, blah, blah. But that stuff is actually handled pretty well, and that's because it's mostly in the hands of Giovanni Ribisi and Lance Henriksen. You know, these are two actors who are very good at what they do, and they can take something that's maybe a bit rote and actually do something with it. So those bits in the film keep me engaged, I would say. You know, not enough to make me ever want to go back and watch it again, but they kept me engaged enough. Couple that with a lot of the schlocky stuff in it that was quite entertaining, and it's something approaching a decent film. But as I say, it's severely let down by really sloppy direction, very low production values, and just choices, bizarre choices in characterizations and things that they do. Like, for example, you've got the main antagonist, if you want to call him that, the bad guy, you can't really call him that either. The Frankenstein's monster, basically, this mind ripper guy, Thor, he's called. I can't remember what that stands for, but it's like an acronym. And yeah, he's someone who was clearly cast for their build. And props to the guy, he's able to move in ways that looks quite inhuman. But when it comes to the emoting side of things, not so much. Can't quite match the standards of Henriksen and Ribisi when he's sharing scenes with them. And it becomes a little bit embarrassing. But they make certain choices with him, like the character itself is really like susceptible to noise. So he can't handle really loud noises, really high-pitched kind of loud noises. That hurts him. And yet he goes around the whole film screaming like a wailing banshee. So it makes zero sense. Like, you would expect this thing, this creature, if you want to call it that, to not make any sound, to be a stealthy little sod. But yeah, so you got that kind of contradiction there where you're just constantly running around squealing, and you kind of like, aren't you supposed to be like finding noises painful? Why are you screaming like this? So stupid things like that. You've got kind of over-the-top characters that aren't really characters. They're just ciphers for various elements that need to be told within the story, and it doesn't really amount to much after that. It's ultimately it's a film that, again, is, you know, it's that age-old tale about when you play God with science, it's going to come back to bite you on the ass. And then in the middle of that, obviously you've got a father-son story, which, as I say, is probably the most entertaining part of the film. So not a great film. It's an entertaining watch, but probably for all the wrong reasons. Mind Ripper. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Is this a guilty pleasure for you? Do you see this as just a bit of a warm-up for the better kind of horror movies that would come more in the late 90s, just after this? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Mind Ripper if you've seen it down in the comment section below. Do check out my Patreon and membership programs to find out how you can support this channel and what you get in return. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.